My call to action speech is on human life starts at conception. So just to begin, when does life start? Many claim it starts with a heartbeat. I personally beg to differ. Life, in my opinion, starts at conception, and I'm here to state why. It isn't about what's right or wrong or opinions. It's strictly about science and what science proves about conception and when life starts. You can't argue with science. These are just facts. Just to give you a statistic on the matter as far as where people stand on the subject, because there's a lot of controversy, different opinions. According to a survey that was conducted in 2018, 47% of Americans said that life starts at conception, while only 14% said that it begins at viability outside of the womb, and 17% said when a baby is born. So just based on those different numbers, you can see how much difference there is in people's opinions about when human life actually does start. So this gives you an idea of how many people disagree in the subject due to personal beliefs or opinions. But like I said, when it all comes down to it, it's science, regardless of opinion. Okay, so people need to understand that this is not based on opinion or religion. It is simply science. To further prove my point that many Americans do not agree, that is simply science. There was another survey conducted in 2018 regarding the conflicting argument. When asked whether the statement, human life begins at conception, is a scientific fact or philosophical or religious belief, many Americans were divided, 46% to 45%. So to break it down even further, pro-life Americans were at 59%, Republicans were at 52%, and independents were at 49%. And they were more likely to say it is biological and a scientific fact. So that was just a breakdown of based on the different groups in America, them believing that it was actually a scientific fact versus opinion or religion. This isn't a problem necessarily, but when it comes to personal beliefs, it isn't necessarily a problem, but when it comes to personal beliefs, when you bring in abortion reasons into play, this can cause a huge debate and huge personal ethical choice. According to Gen Med Clinic for Abortion, a pregnancy smaller than 6 weeks, gestation is too small to be seen by an ultrasound. And so because of that, many classify this not to be actual life. So the idea that life doesn't start at conception is often masked by the heartbeat bill, which only protects a fetus when cardiac activity is detected. So basically, because that opinion or whatever was put out there, that bill was created, many people disregard science as far as when conception actually starts and doesn't ever consider a true fetus right at conception. So I think that goes into play with opinions about abortion. Regardless of personal belief, the law needs to stop miseducating women on when life truly starts. According to Dr. Alfred Bongianni, a professor of he's a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, and basically he stated that he learned from his earliest medical education that life begins at the time of conception. I submit that human life is present throughout the entire sequence from conception to adulthood, and that any interruption at any point throughout this time constitutes a termination of human life. So he believes that right from conception it is a life, and if you terminate it, then you're basically getting rid of a human life. It counts at every point. This, in my opinion, is why many, not all, abortions are considered unethical or irresponsible actions, which is a growing problem in America. So to help solve this problem with the miseducation amongst this subject, life begins at conception, and I have a few scientific statistics surrounding the truth about when life starts. According to multiple doctors and professors listed in the article published by the National Association for the Advanced of Preborn Children, it is no longer a matter of taste or opinion. It is just plain experimental evidence. Another professor added that biological data cannot be deceived. And so it's just basically that by science, individual human life begins at conception. To date, pro-abortionists, though invited to do so, failed to produce even a single expert witness who would scientifically testify that life at any point other than conception or implantation. So bottom line, science will always win and can't successfully be debated. And this is the type of education that people need to learn to have all the facts correct regardless of result. And I just printed out basically just the stages of human development, just to show that from day one, even though there's not a heartbeat, there is still an infant present. And it just kind of goes through each stage of life. So basically, just to wrap it up, now that I've explained and provided statistics from professors and doctors themselves, human life does indeed begin at conception, and I ask that regardless of any personal beliefs, that you let science stand as it is and continue to educate yourself. Everybody has a personal belief, and this is not a statement of faith, it is just fact. This is not to wrong anyone of personal choices due to abortion, but simply do not use the excuse, it isn't at life yet, like not to use that excuse, when making a very personal decision. Overall, I think it's extremely important to be informed of fact or fiction, and I hope this helped provide knowledge as to why many, including myself, strongly believe that life begins at conception. Thank you.